All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today, we are diving deep into one of the most powerful and, honestly, most versatile programming languages out there, C#. That's C#, by the way.
So let me ask you something. What do those hit video games you play, the supercritical software that basically runs our entire economy, and even the backbone of the modern web, what do they all have in common? I mean, what's the one thing that ties all of that together? Well, you might be surprised to hear it, but the answer is C#. Yep, this one language is the engine behind a crazy diverse range of apps that, odds are, you use every single day. So, here's what we're going to do. We'll break down what C# actually is, get into its pretty dramatic origin story, check out its special powers, see where it's making a splash today, and then we'll talk about how this language basically got a complete second life. Okay, first things first. What is C#? Well, to really get it, you got to look at it as way more than just, code on a screen. Okay, so the textbook definition is that C# is a general-purpose, high-level programming language. Let's translate that. General purpose basically means it's a Swiss Army knife. It's not built for just one thing. And because it supports different ways of thinking, like object-oriented and functional programming, it gives developers this massive toolbox. They can pick the right tool for whatever problem they're trying to solve. Right from the get-go, the folks who created C# had a really clear vision. They wanted a language that felt modern, sure, but the big thing was making developers' lives easier. They wanted them to be productive and to build software that didn't just break all the time. So they built in these safety nets, things like strong type checking and automatic garbage collection. This stuff is huge. It means the language itself helps you catch mistakes early and takes care of all the boring, tedious memory stuff, so you can just focus on the creative part, building something awesome. All right, now for the juicy part, the origin story. And trust me, C# wasn't just invented in some quiet lab. No, this language was born out of some serious corporate drama. So picture this. It's 1999. A team at Microsoft, led by an absolute legend in the programming world, Anders Hellsberg, starts work on a new language. And their internal code name for it? Cool. I mean, how cool is that? It stood for C-like object-oriented language. The only problem? It was a great name, but they couldn't actually trademark it. Bummer. Now, you have to remember what the tech world was like back then. Java was king. It was everywhere. So when Microsoft announced this new language, the competition, well, they were not impressed. The creator of Java, James Gosling, threw some serious shade. He called C# a cheap imitation. And, get this, he said it was like Java with reliability, productivity, and security deleted. Ouch. But Anders Hellsberg wasn't just going to sit there and take it. He fired right back, saying, hold on, C# is not a Java clone. He argued that, really, it was much more like C++ in its DNA. And this public spat, this back and forth, it really kicked off this huge rivalry that lasted for years. But here's the thing. Despite all that drama, Microsoft was moving at lightning speed. They announced C# in July of 2000, and almost immediately they pushed to get it internationally standardized. And they did it. In just 3 years, it was an official ISO standard. That was Microsoft basically telling the world, yeah, we're serious about this. C# is here to stay. So what about that name, C#? It's actually really clever. Think about music. A sharp raises a note's pitch. So the name is saying C# is a step up from C++. It's an improvement. And here's the extra nerdy part I love. The sharp symbol itself kind of looks like 4 plus signs mashed together. Get it? C++, C#. It's a total programmer joke. Okay, so we know the backstory, but what's the actual secret sauce? What are the features under the hood that make C# so darn powerful? A really big deal in C# is something called the unified type system. The basic idea is that everything in the language, from a simple number to a super complex object, is treated as part of the same family. It splits things into 2 main camps. You've got value types. Think simple stuff like numbers or a true-false value. They're lightweight, efficient, and they hold their data directly. Then you have reference types. These are for more complex things like classes or lists. They don't hold the data itself, just a signpost, a reference to where the data lives. This whole system is what lets C# be both fast and safe with how it handles memory. And then there's LINQ. It stands for Language Integrated Query. And honestly, this was a total game changer when it came out. The best way to think about it is like having a universal search bar baked right into the language itself.
It gives you one single, consistent way to ask questions of your data, and it doesn't care where that data is coming from. It could be a massive database, an old XML file, or just a simple list. It's brilliant. And just look at this example. This shows you just how clean it is. The code literally reads like a sentence. From each number, num in our list of numbers, where that num is even, selected. See? You're describing what you want, not getting bogged down in the nitty-gritty of how to loop through everything. This makes your code way easier to read and, frankly, harder to mess up.
And the list goes on, really. C# is just stuffed with features designed to make a programmer's life better. You've got killer type safety, which catches bugs before your users ever see them. The automatic garbage collection is like having a helpful robot cleaning up memory for you so you don't have to. It has properties, which are a really elegant way to handle data. And right from the start, it was designed to be portable to run in different places.
Okay, that's a lot of theory. But where does the rubber meet the road? Where's all this C# power actually being used out in the real world? Let's take a look. Honestly, the reach of C# is just huge. If you've played a game made with Unity, and you probably have, you've experienced C#. It's the language behind so many indie and AAA games. It powers awesome desktop apps that people love like Paint.net or KeePass. And get this, the very tool most C# developers use, Visual Studio, is itself built with C#. It's everywhere, from giant corporate software to cool open source projects you can download right now. And if you look at where it's being used, it's all over the map. Game development is the biggest piece of the pie for sure, but right behind that, you have web applications and desktop software. And what's really interesting is how much it's growing in all the new hotness, cloud, AI, and the Internet of Things. It's not just a language for old school apps. But hang on, this story isn't over, not by a long shot. Because in the last decade or so, C# went through this absolutely radical change, a transformation that basically rewrote its entire identity. You could really say it was a language reborn. See, for a long time, C# had this reputation. It was the Microsoft language. It only ran on Windows, its compiler was a black box, it was a walled garden. But then, around 2014, something crazy happened. Microsoft did a total 180. They open-sourced the compiler, they rebuilt the whole thing from the ground up to be cross-platform. They started working with the open-source community. And just like that, the new C# could run anywhere. Windows, Mac, Linux, it was a massive shift. And all of this change led to what Microsoft now calls 1.net. They basically took all these different kind of fragmented pieces they had and brought them all together under one roof. One single, unified, open source platform. So now, if you're a C# developer, you can build anything. Web, mobile, desktop, cloud, for any operating system using the same set of tools. It was a total, complete reinvention. So there you have it, the journey of C#, from this corporate weapon forged in a rivalry to this open-source, cross-platform giant that's used by millions. It has been one heck of an evolution. Which, of course, leaves us with one big question. What's next? What will the world build with C# tomorrow?